All I knew about this movie was that it was basically Mission Impossible, but it's starring a 90-year-old grandmother.
Bing bong!
Thelma is a story about a grandmother who is the victim of a scam and decides to take it upon herself to go get some revenge on the scammers. That's it. That's the whole movie. And that premise alone should immediately get you to drop everything and go see it, because this is one of the most touching, hilarious, well done, beautifully made films of the year. What's great about a movie like Thelma, and I saw a movie last year called Moving On with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, and a man who's in this film as well, Richard Roundtree, starring just older actors, people that seem to be sort of pushed aside by society, and that's a lot of what Thelma is about. It focuses more on the relationship between grandmother and her grandson, who are both sort of at interesting parts of their life where people think that they need more overseeing and just have to be more on top of everything that the person is doing for their own well-being, all of that. Basically assuming that Thelma and her grandson, neither of them can do anything for themselves anymore. Thelma does not really appreciate feeling like society has just passed her by, and she spends a lot of the movie trying to confront these feelings. But I gotta say, when I was reading that the premise of this film was essentially Mission Impossible featuring a grandmother, I was sold instantly. And one of the best parts about this movie is that while she is going on her journey for revenge, because she gets scammed and she wants revenge on the scammer. She's had enough. Thelma's had enough. There are so many regular things, just everyday tasks in this film that for somebody who's a little bit older, maybe not as mobile, they are a little bit more challenging. It doesn't mean that they can't do them. It just means that maybe they take a little bit longer. They're just not as easy as they would have been if you were a little bit younger. This film does everything it can to highlight that older people and the older generation is still very much capable, just because some of us younger people might not think that they are, doesn't mean that they are not. There are characters that are in assisted living that maybe don't want to be there, or at the very least they want to feel like there are still some things that they can do on their own. They don't need to be hounded and watched 24/7. There are some absolutely fantastic scenes in this movie, but my personal favorites are any time Thelma is doing a pretty basic task. They play this dramatic Mission Impossible style suspense thriller action movie music, and it just brings up the drama by so much in the best possible way. This movie is made so lovingly and is truly highlighting the relationship between these two characters, grandmother and grandson, which is based on the actual director's relationship with his own grandmother, which is beautiful. If you stick around for the end credits of this film, there's a real life video clip of conversations he had with his grandmother, and it's beautiful. I cried at the end of this movie. I was not expecting to cry because the movie is really rather lighthearted for almost the entire thing, but there are just some beautiful moments towards the end that, you know, it just, if you have any sort of close relationship with a relative, mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, whatever it might be, it's hard not to realize the beauty in this movie, really shining a light on how precious those relationships are. It just makes me happy to see that there are still jobs for older actors, because while I am not familiar with Jane Squibb, the woman that plays Thelma in this movie, she's 94 years old. There's a scene in the movie where she mentions that she was, in her early 90s and then, turned 93. And so I thought maybe this actor was just a little bit younger, which I realize is like my own bias towards, like, obviously 90 couldn't pull this off. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Jane. Yes, you can. You're 94 and you absolutely killed it in this movie. She was fantastic. It was just fantastic to see so many older actors getting opportunities, because they are all so capable. They are so fantastic. And it meant a lot to see generally a population that sort of feels like it's usually kind of just forcefully retired, just like not getting as many job offers the older you get. While there are some actors that, have had huge, long careers that are ready to hang it up when they reach a certain age, there are plenty of actors out there that either never got their chance or just never got enough momentum going to fully get into the industry, and it was just really cool to see a lot of people in this film that otherwise probably are not getting that many acting jobs. Thelma, in my opinion, is one of the best movies of the year. It's one of the most touching. It is so well made. It's hilarious. I absolutely loved it, if you cannot tell. And it's a smaller film. It was only playing at a couple theaters. For me, in New York City, which is always bizarre because everything seems to play everywhere. But if you have a chance to go catch Thelma before it's out of theaters, please do. It is so good. Go support this movie. Original movies do exist, and this is an absolutely beautiful example. This is one that you do not want to miss out on.